Last time on Tintin in Tibet, Tintin braved the snowstorm and found his way to a monastery. After solving puzzle after puzzle and getting repeatedly cock-blocked, Tintin came across a monk who had a vision that Chang was still alive and had been snatched by the fabled Yeti. Can Tintin rescue Chang and come out of the Yeti's den alive? Find out next! Welcome on all to the concluding part of Let's Play Tintin in Tibet. When we last left off, Tintin was told by a mysterious levitating monk that Chang was in fact alive and well, and being held captive by the famed Yeti of Tibetan legend. Now, personally, while I'm not one to judge normally, if this were me being told this information, two things. A, I wouldn't believe the person that told me, especially if it was a mysterious floating monk I'd never met before, because you know that just screams trustworthiness. And B, I wouldn't go. To me, charging into the den of the Yeti, completely unprepared, completely blind, is nothing short of suicide. I love how Tintin instantly picks out which cave is the Yeti's, despite the fact he's never been to Tibet in his life before. I know the monk said to him, it's the horn of the yak, but there's absolutely no indication that that is the horn of the yak. Come on, Infogrames, nice plot hole. And it's interesting here that Captain Hannet's got hold of a camera. He actually uses that in the book and in the TV version to startle the Yeti long enough for Tintin to make good his escape. Sadly, in the level itself, we can't rely on the good captain, so instead we have to rely on what we do every time in a crisis. Run for our lives. And believe me, in this level there is an awful lot of running for our lives. So this is the final level of the game. Infogrames just called it the Yeti. But to me that's a terrible name for a final level, so I'm going to rechristen it the Yeti's Den. I think that's a much better name. Main hazards of the Yeti's Den: rocks falling from the ceiling, and of course the Yeti himself, represented by this shadow, which to me looks less like the Yeti and more like a villain out of Scooby-Doo. I'm half expecting Shaggy and the crew to show up in the mystery machine and try and carpet bag it or something. But for all I've mocked it, it is very, very dangerous. See, unlike most other hazards in this game, if you touch it just once, you don't just lose health, you lose a life. You can have a full bar of energy and still lose a life. Which is why it doesn't really matter if you get hit by a lot of the rocks, because, you know, as long as you can recharge your energy like you can with this apple coming up here, it's not too bad. But the Yeti, insta-kill. And also, as we sprint for the finish here, is it a Yeti or the Yeti? Is there more than one? And that's the end of the level, believe it or not. And hey, look, it's a hobo. Wait a minute, that's not a hobo, that's Chang! My god, buddy, you look absolutely terrible. And so, that's the end of the game. But we just have one final ending cutscene to enjoy, or should I be endure. And I have a problem with this ending. That being, it's a retelling of what we already know. We know the facts already, okay? Chang was on a plane bound for Kathmandu. It flew into a storm. It crashed as a result. Everybody on board died except for Chang. Chang was then taken hostage by the Yeti, who took him up to his cave. Chang threw his scarf out and carved his name on a rock. And Tintin found him, and that's the end of the story. So why we have to have this rehash, complete with rehashed pictures, by the way. We've seen all these before. Those two were from Tintin's dream, after the hotel level. Is Infogrames just looking for ways to pad out the game now? Well, I'll tell you what, while you enjoy the ending, I'm just going to mention a few closing points. One, oh actually that is a brand new picture in fairness. And it's a pretty cool picture too, with the Yeti staring into Chang's soul. I have to wonder what would happen if the Yeti caught you in this game. What would he do to Tintin? Actually, you know what? I'm not going to imagine that, because I like to have a reasonably clean mind. So I'm just going to let you filthy people work it out for yourself, okay? I'm sure you can come up with something suitably creepy. Yes! Sorry about that, I had a cough come on for no reason there. And this part of the plot makes no sense. I get that he threw the scarf out. Also, does that seem to remind you of King Kong much? I get the Chang threw the scarf out into the air so that people would find him, which of course they did. But surely that was the one thing protecting him from hypothermia. It's no good someone finding you if all they find is a frozen corpse, okay? And Tintin says, so we can find you, and that's the final bit of dialogue and the end of the game. And as you see, the Yeti is watching on in despair. Because, as you find out in the book, the Yeti is actually not evil. He was actually looking after Chang. So it begs the question why we rescued him from his protector in the first place. I suppose if the Yeti ran out of whatever food it is Yetis eat, he could have decided to turn Chang into his Sunday roast. So, yeah, I suppose we should have rescued him in the end. And as the credits roll, all that's left for me is to give my final thoughts about this game. Final thoughts, it's okay. It's not great, it's not good, it may not even be decent, but it's not the worst game I've ever played, and it's certainly not the worst game Infogrames ever made, by a long chalk. Yes, there are some very frustrating levels and extremely frustrating stages, like the chalk and especially that goddamn rock climbing segment. But at the same time, the game is very different to anything else out there. So if you want to give it a try, I'm not going to stop you. And with the Yeti watching on, that brings to a close Let's Play Tintin in Tibet. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and hopefully I'll be back pretty soon with the start of a brand new Let's Play. I've been Rainiac, thank you for watching, and good night.